Welcome again, students. And now we're going to cover the second topic, supply and demand. And I don't want you to think that I have a giant head. It's just that I'm a bit nearsighted, so I have to be close to the screen. So I'm going to share my screen. And now we can see that we are at the, let's start at the home page. From here, you're going to click on course content on the left. If you don't see this menu, it means that it's hidden, and you must click on this arrow here to see the menu. And we're going to start with course content, and we're going to turn to topic 2, the basics of supply and demand. This page is just a header, starting with topic 2A, supply and demand of individuals. And here we see that we're going to start with, we're going to do chapter 3 and 6, but we're going to start with chapter 6, consumer choices, and how consumers make their budgets. Then we'll continue on to supply and demand graphs. So remember the PPC curve, where producers chose between two products. So we're going to have a similar consumer's budget curve, where consumers choose between buying two products. In the PPC curve, producers choose between making two products. That's why it's called production possibilities curve. In the consumer's budget curve, the consumer is going to choose between buying or consuming two products. Where the two curves intersect, consumers will make the purchase, and there's an equilibrium or balance, which means the buys equal the sells in the economy. So if you go to the store and the price of a steak is $100, you will not buy at that price. If the price is $1, many people will buy at that price, but they're going to offer you a price maybe around $5 to $10, and then that's the price that consumers will buy at. That's where the two curves meet. The PPC curve is going to offer you a choice between a steak and vegetables at a certain price, and you will choose on your budget what you can afford. Where your budget line meets the PPC line, where you can afford the steak, if you like that, then that's the price at which you will buy. Second thing we need to look at is the consumer has a utility curve, which means how useful things are to you. And you're going to strike a balance between how much you buy of good number A and good number B, let's say steak versus vegetables, based on how useful they are to you. In this example, we're doing shoes versus hats. Third, there's another way to look at it with indifference curves, where you will pick a combination where you're indifferent between the two. Okay, I don't care if I have 1 steak and 3 vegetables, or 2 steaks and 1 vegetable. It's the same to me. So those combinations are your I curve or indifference curve. So that puts the two concepts together of the budget and the utility. So let's look at the 3 main characteristics of indifference curves that you must understand for the quiz. We're going to call it the I curve for short. It slopes up and out on both sides. That's called convex. If it were to slope the other way, it would make like a cave, and then it would be called concave. That's how I remember that this is convex. It slopes outwards. And that's because there are more expensive choices at the ends. This is more expensive going up for shoes. This is more expensive going out for hats, that we would be okay with, but we can't afford them because it's not on the budget line. There's only going to be about 1 combination that you can afford on the budget line. So that's the first characteristic of the indifference curve that it slopes up and out. You remember the PPC curve is concave. It makes like a little cave shape inside, okay? And a convex is the opposite. And where these two curves meet, this is how useful you find things. And this is how much is offered to you, the PPC curve. I curve is the combinations that you're indifferent between one or the other combination. They're all good to you, but only one of them is going to be on your budget line that you can afford. So where these points meet, the budget with the PPC curve and the I curve with the budget, that's where you're going to buy, in this case, $50 worth of shoes and $50 worth of hats is what this consumer chooses. You could have an I curve way over here. And what does that mean? That's unaffordable on your budget. But you see this red line, there may be a richer person who has a higher budget. It's further out, which means more dollars in both directions. So it's further out, further up and further over. So further up means more shoes, further over means more hats. This person has a higher budget, so they can afford to have their indifference curve meet the budget there, which means more of both, or at least more hats anyway. It's not much higher, so maybe just a couple more shoes, but definitely more to the right, so more hats. So this budget line means they have more money. So the budget is how much you can buy of each item. And notice that when you buy items, it's price times quantity, just like when you buy things in real life. So you could buy these combinations here is what makes your budget. So 4 times 25, 4 shoes at 25 is $100. So your budget meets over here at $100 of shoes and 0 across for hats. You can also buy 3 shoes for 25. That's $75 worth of shoes. And that would meet with $5 hats, 5 of them. That'd be $25. That'd be here for hats and here for shoes. This is between 50 and 100 is 75 for shoes. Between 0 and 50 is 25 for hats. So you see this point here is the second combination on your budget schedule here. 75 going up for shoes, 25 going across for hats. That's also on your budget line. Here, where you decide you can afford what's being offered, here not that much is being, these combinations you like are not being offered. Here, where your budget meets what's offered, is 2 pairs of shoes at 25. That's $50 for shoes. And 2 pairs of hats at 25, more expensive hats. That's $50 for hats. And that is in your budget. It's on this budget curve. That's this point. It's also on the PPC curve. So, but we're looking here at the schedule for your budget. You also could go for 1 shoe at $25. That would be between 0 and 50 for shoes. $25 here. 1 pair of shoes at 25. And 3 pairs of hats at 25. That would be here between 50 and 100 for hats. So you see that point is also on your budget line. 25 for shoes and 75 for hats. That's this. Or you could go for 2 $50 hats. That would put you here on the budget line. $100 of hats and nothing going up, so no shoes, and 100 across. That would be 2 pairs of shoes at 2 pairs of hats at $50. So that's your budget, but you see there's only one combination that is offered that you can afford. Okay, so the consumer buys where the production possibility curve meets the budget. And then for the utility, we look at marginal utility. Marginal means extra. So what's the extra usefulness of the next item? Utility is usefulness. What's the extra usefulness of the next item between 2 combinations? So that means marginal utility 1 equals marginal utility 2, should say here, okay? Should I buy 1 more shoe or 1 more hat? Marginal utility 1 would be shoes. This is marginal utility 2 should be hats, typo there. So that's going to be your that's where you're going to be on your indifference curve, where your two utilities equal, divided by the price, because we want to know the number of units. So we have to divide by the price. So do I get more out of one shoe for $25? That's 1 over 25. Or 3 hats for $25, 3 over 25. So which one is higher? 3 over 25 is better. You get 3 hats, 3 useful hats for the same price as you would get 1 shoe for the same price. So you would pick this one. So one keeps trading off amounts until it's the same to them. Whatever, they are indifferent. Here, 2 over 25 shoes or hats is going to give you the same utility. So if you get 2 units of utility for 25 here, 2 units of utility for 25 here, then this is the point that you're going to buy, and 2 at 25 is 50 and 2 at 25 is 50. So that's assuming that 1 shoe, 1 hat gives you 1 unit of usefulness. You may love hats, and then hats may be 3 times more useful. That's a different situation. Here we're saying a hat or a shoe, it's the same usefulness to you in this example, to keep it simple. So you're going to pick 2 over 25. Two hats are as useful for 25 as 2 shoes are useful for 25. You have to compare the price, because if one is $1 million and one is free, then it doesn't matter that the numerator is that it's 1 shoe and 1 hat. If 1 shoe is $1 million and 1 hat is free, you can't compare them. So you have to compare them based on the prices being lined up. So this is the equation you need to know for the quiz, where you will pick on your indifference curve, where you're indifferent between different utility of different items. So what are the 3 qualities of indifference curves that we need to know on the test? More is better. It means more beats less, up beats down. So this richer person, richer gal, she can buy more than this poor guy. And so she has more higher indifference curve. It's further out. This is up and this is up. Out, across is also to the right, is also up in terms of hats. So this is up and this is up. So further out, anywhere up here is going to be a higher indifference curve. More is better. It has a convex shape. It means enough is enough. So you get less and less usefulness out of these more expensive alternatives. So it means that it has a convex shape. The more expensive alternatives, you get less and less usefulness out of them. This is the best bargain here. And it slopes down. It means the more you want one, the less the other. So slopes downwards like a ski slope. This also slopes downwards. It curves, but downwards, not upwards. It doesn't go this way. It goes this way, downwards, which means you trade off one for the other. Okay, so those are the 3 qualities of indifference curves. And we're going to leave it there for our discussion of consumer budgets.